First,
All right, team, we're going to continue to build on what we've been driving these last several weeks is how do we become the best closers in the entire company, guys? And again, it goes back to making sure that we're mastering the basics, be brilliant at the basics. And I want y'all to write that down if you're able to write down some notes, but make that your ultimate goal is becoming brilliant at the basics, right? Triple B, becoming brilliant at the basics. And that's one of the things that allows us to be better at what we do. So last week we had an incredible session diving into the benefits fact sheet, demonstrating to you what that looks like going from benefits fact sheet and into the slides that follow all the way from the title to the, who we are, what we do, and how we're different. And so this current training session, we're going to be diving into the next couple of slides and we're just going to incrementally show you guys how it's all done. But one of the things that I wanted to bring back to your attention is how vital it is to make sure that you as a business owner are taking ownership of the presentation developments. Okay. And here's why. 100% of the time, you're going to be walking into a business and seeing a gatekeeper. So the likelihood of your gatekeeper script being on par is going to be, the probability is super high of getting that mastered. Then we think about it is 30% of the time, however, we're seeing a decision maker. So our decision maker script, right, the 30-second commercial and the 8 common objections before the presentation, we're going to have a higher level of skill set in that area. So after having several discussions with Brian, we really started thinking about, okay, how do we start to really compound our momentum in the closing sector? And that's by giving you guys some routine role play sessions. And so here's just a couple of reminders. Make sure you're role playing. The expectation of a successful entrepreneur or a business owner is role play your presentation at least once at lunch. Role play your presentation before your appointments. Role play your presentation, at the end of the day, before the day. But there's really never too much role play in the presentation section, and it's because I'm telling you guys, that presentation in a live event happens 3, 4, 5 times. So that's 3, 4, 5 repetitions that you're getting in developing that closing or that presentation skill set. So be systematic is what I'm saying. Be systematic. It's part of my system to role play once at lunch. It's part of the system to role play before your presentation or your appointments. It's part of the system to role play at least an hour a week. That's what I would consider a system, is you've got a lot of times throughout your week where you're honing in on that particular skill set, which allows you to really elevate your abilities. And so again, we talk a lot about transitions and tie downs. We talk a lot about handling the objection throughout the presentation. So again, let's dive right in and let's get going. So last week, again, we ended with currently just looking at my notes here. Last week we ended the, let's see, I got it on this particular slide. We ended the presentation with what we do. Okay. So because we started there, I want to now move in and transition into the how we're different slide. So Brian, of course, is the business owner. I've already gotten to the what we do slide. So now, Brian, before I describe how we do that and how we want to show some of the ways we're different from other companies, let's go ahead and start talking about this right here. Okay. So with that being said, Brian, according to the National Safety Council, that's something that, again, is super important to consider, guys, because when you're bringing up things like these organizations like the National Safety Council, we talked about adding sizzle to your presentation. A lot of the times people just go in and talk about, hey, we're introductory offers we're going to be given are these right here, but they never really add a whole lot of sizzle by incorporating the name of the the organization that is giving us these statistics. So super, super important in getting that part of the process down. So with that, Brian, here's a couple of ways that we're different. First and foremost, what we do is we offer unique life benefits that no one else can offer. Okay. And then secondly, we use a needs-based approach. So we're offering your employees based on what they need. So if they have already got it in place, John, we don't even go down that avenue. It not only saves us time, but it also helps the employee out tremendously. And then lastly, we also provide each and every employee with two introductory offers, whether they're full-time or part-time. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that here in the coming slide. And so first and foremost, the first thing that I want to talk to you about, John, is according to the National Safety Council, accidental injury is the third leading cause of death for those under the age of 45. And a lot of them, I'm sure you would agree, are during their working years, right? So what we do, John, is we provide a $3,000 accidental death for your employees, a $2,000 accidental death for the spouse, or $3,000 for the spouse, and $2,000 per dependent child here in the state of Florida. Now, that is, I'm sure you would agree, a significant contribution to a burial or final expense. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
Awesome, my man. The other thing that we provide is, of course, a no-cost discount card. This, of course, gives them access to a national network with thousands of local providers, and it also gives them discounts on vision, hearing, prescription drugs, and chiropractic care. Now, Brian, I'm sure these services are services that a lot of families use as well, right?
Oh, yeah.
Perfect, my man. Well, now when it comes to this particular part of our process, Brian, I know you mentioned earlier, you're probably thinking to yourself that you want to probably talk to your employees about this. Now, most of our clients that I tell them is it's better to have a licensed agent like myself to come in and ask the hard questions and do the educating for them to be able to make an educated decision. Because, Brian, I'm sure you would agree that the average employee would much rather get coverage through their employer rather than on an individual basis, right?
Yeah.
Now, Brian, I want you to be, when I go through this exercise with you, I want you to answer these questions as if you're your average employee. Let's say Nikki there at the front, which she's amazing, by the way. So my first question to you, Brian, is if you were to pass away, or if Nikki was to pass away, would she have enough permanent life insurance to cover her final expenses? Yes or no?
I don't know, but probably not.
Unfortunately, that's an answer we get quite a bit. Now, that's why, again, it's super important to have a licensed, professional to come in and ask those questions ultimately. And so, the other question we want to ask is if she was to pass away, if Nikki was to pass away, does she have enough uh, coverage to be able to replace her income?
I wouldn't think so.
Again, it goes back to going in and asking these questions that really go in and find the need, Brian. So the other one and very important is our mortgage protection. If Nikki was to pass away, do you think she'd have enough coverage to be able to cover that mortgage? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. Now, again, based on your responses, John, I'm sure you would agree, or Brian, I'm sure you would agree that one or more of your employees could have one or more of these needs, right?
Yes.
All right, Brian. Now, one of my favorite policies here is our unique life benefit. So, unlike any other life insurance product on the market today that terminates, converts, or reduces if this employee were to retire, our policy stays in coverage until the age of 100 with the option for it to be paid off at 65 years of age. Now, Brian, why do you think that's important for your working class American to have a policy that's paid off at the age of 65?
That's when most of them are retiring and their income's going down. So I could see it being a benefit to actually having this paid up at 65.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that really bring the participation up exponentially. It's because employees knowing that they can have something that they can pay off and have ready to use whenever they need it definitely has a huge value when brought to your employee. The other thing about it, Brian, is that the coverage continues even when the employee retires and the premiums will never increase. And guess what? The face amount will never decrease. And when it comes to pre-tax savings, Brian, as a matter of fact, up to $50,000 worth of coverage is able to be, of course, pre-taxable for that employee as well. Now, how is that going to help benefit your employees? Well, let's take a look at the example down here. So, Brian, this is a $30,000 example here for whole life versus our group term life. That's, of course, for a 35-year-old male tobacco user. If they were to try to get coverage on an individual basis, they would have to pay $17.22 for their entire life. And of course, that tends to add up, and they would have no tax savings. However, with us and you making this readily available for your employees here, they would only have to pay $8.74 with $1.75 in tax savings, bringing that cost down to $6.99, totaling their yearly savings $531.96. Now, Brian, I'm sure you see the benefit in offering this to your employees, right?
Oh, definitely.
Awesome. So, with that being said, guys, that is exactly what we're trying to break down for you is it's pretty self-explanatory. It's a matter of how do I get Brian as a business owner to not only be moved by the delivery, but the biggest thing that I also did, sorry guys, my clicker is not working here. Give me a second. is, you know, of course, the National Safety Council, right? It's not currently on this slide, and so knowing in my scripts that that's something that is something that I need to deliver is important. The other part is I got him to agree that, you know, Brian, I'm sure you would agree that $3,000 would be a significant contribution towards a funeral, right? I'm getting them tying it down early in this. What I've seen happen in the field is they're going, and as little as you may think that is, again, going back to the importance of tying down, is those micro yeses. How do I get them to say yes throughout the presentation so that they align their decision making to what we've been getting them to say throughout the entirety of it, right? So that's one of them on there. The other thing too is, you know, making sure that they understand that whenever you're going through the process, right? Something that you heard me say here is the professionalism of having a licensed agent coming in, and it could be daunting. Let me point it this way. Some people, they just go in and say, "Hey guys, real quick, this is our needs-based approach. We don't." Some people are they just glide over this slide and they don't really add a whole lot of weight to it. I want to encourage you guys to understand that when I'm going through this part of the process, the by going in and saying, now, Brian, if Nikki was to pass away, would she have enough permanent life insurance to cover her final expenses? Yes or no? And his response was like, I really don't know, right? Probably not, right? That experience that you're having is what he's feeling inside is that it's developing that curiosity that I don't want to have to be sitting down and talking to all of these employees and asking them these questions. And so that's why I continue to drive forth the if you noticed also, I handled the objection
Yes.
before I went into that, right? Now, Brian, I'm sure you're probably thinking to yourself that you may want to talk to your employees. But as a matter of fact, a lot of my clients that I have now have found that it's better to have a licensed agent like myself come in and do all the heavy lifting and ask the necessary questions. And the most important part is the education. So now, Brian, I'm
Yes.
sure you would agree that the average employee would much rather get coverage through their employer rather than on an individual basis, right? Okay, great. Now, let's go through this exercise real quick, and I want you to answer these questions as if you're an average employee. All right. So then going through that part of the process is not only engaging, but it's really driving forth how do I say this, the obviousness that the business owner doesn't really know what the need of the employee is. Right. And that's what it's designed to do is it's designed to get them to understand that we're the ones that are going to be asking these questions, right? So, with all that being said, team, I know we took about 12 minutes to dive into this. I wanted to demonstrate this for you, but I wanted to give you guys an open platform to role play these particular slides with a partner. So, I want you guys to partner up. Oops, I'm going ahead. Sorry, hold on. All right, now what I want you to do is I want you to role play the how we're different slide, the introductory offers, the needs-based approach, and the unique life benefit. And I want you to make sure that you are isolating the tie downs, getting those transitions down. But again, low pressure. Not this isn't a high stake environment, so that's why we wanted to open it up. So let's go ahead and pair up. Okay, I want you to role play these. I want you to each get a couple of reps in. That's why we shortened it down. So instead of having you role play the entire slide or the entire presentation and only get one rep a piece, we broke it down so you guys can get multiple reps in those smaller increments. So I would like for each of you to get in as many reps as you can. We've got 17 minutes, guys, of some cold hard repetitions. And so let's get rocking and rolling. We're going to jump back on in 17 minutes and we'll get some feedback from you guys. So let's rock and roll. Role play, baby. Come on. Also, remember, guys, let's be intentional, right? Don't just go through the motions with doing this. Generate a level of emotion. When you're saying it, don't just say it to say it. Feel what you're saying, right? Feel it, feel it, feel it. Transfer that emotion. Let's rock and roll. All right, 2:59 on the dot. I'll tell you what, guys, I had a pleasure of pairing up with an agent, definitely getting him to deliver that role play, that repetition, and made a couple of minor adjustments. Really started talking about his diaphragm, started talking about how important it is to just put yourself in the right headspace when you're role playing these particular, you're going through this exercise. It's not something that we're just going in and doing. It's the intentionality. I use this analogy all the time is when I go to the gym, I can throw weights on it. I could just move them around and all that, or speed through them. But coaches and these bodybuilders, they say you need time under tension. All right, what do I mean by that, right? Time under tension. When you're delivering a rep or a repetition, you want to maximize the delivery in that moment. What do I mean by that is, shoot, I would even encourage some of you to stand up and read it, and exaggerate the delivery. John, I'm sure you would agree that the average working class American would prefer to get coverage through you as the employer rather than on a personal basis, right? By me delivering that as, that is the script, but I'm delivering it with emotion. I want to feel what I'm saying, right? Think about this. The next time you role play your favorite song that you know every word, right? Why did you remember it? Right? You can literally have it. Your eyes can be closed, whatever, you know what I mean? But as the song's playing, I was we were at a piano grill, right? They had dual pianos and people were up there memorizing all these songs. It was amazing, but it was because they felt a certain way, right? And think about it for you, right? Your favorite song, your favorite artist, you feel what it is that song is saying. So I want to encourage you when you're role playing, have that very similar effect is, are you feeling what you're saying? Are you feeling what it is that you're saying? And that's what's going to help imprint these particular parts of the script down and, using your diaphragm, right? Are you tightening it up? Are you making sure that your voice is up? Are you adding some voice inflection? Are you looking at the commas in the script to know when to potentially add a pause or maybe a change in tonality? And so again, team, I'm super excited to see what these role play sessions are going to continue to do for you guys. And so, with that being said, I want to hear some feedback from you guys. I know I've got a couple of people in the field that are role playing, but tell us about how you feel about the role play sessions. Let's start. I got Crystal right here. Crystal, tell me about your experience so far with the role play and how does that help you overall get that confidence in your ability?
Yeah, absolutely, Bruce. So role play, I mean, it's gold. I don't know how else to say it. Like there's no better way to learn than by doing it. I mean that's just the best way to learn something. I don't know how else to say it. I know like when we're out in the field, I mean that's one of my big things. Any of my agents, they'll tell you that work with me. If you're with Crystal, you're gonna be role playing because I'm such a believer in that.
I
Um,
love that. I
but
love that.
but yeah, and I think too another thing just to add on to that, it just doing the role play, doing it every day, it just keeps stuff fresh on your mind,
Yes.
and it gives you confidence. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
And again, team, the whole point of all of this is to activate our central nervous system, get it to condition itself to remember how to deliver in those high stake environments, high pressure environments, the military, the NBA, the MLB, the Olympics. These individuals are going through high levels of repetition so that when they're in that high stakes environment, they can deliver and make it happen where they get the gold, where they're, coming back with a complete mission. And so again, team, I want to encourage you if there's one thing that's going to take your business to the next level at an exponential rate is how much ownership you take in that role play when it comes to the presentation. So with all that being said, guys, we're going to continue to move on into the next week and break the presentation up into the next part of it. So I'm going to go ahead and finish it out and we'll see you all next week. Talk to y'all soon.
Hey, guys.